Unfortunately, like most things in life, the only way through it is through it. Hey everyone, how's it going? I'm Kira Wackett. Thanks for joining me for another video as we work to empower and equip you with the confidence and skills to write your own story so that you can live a life on purpose. Today we're talking about forgiveness, specifically self-forgiveness, and not only why it's important, but the 5 things that you need to forgive yourself for now to work towards your goal of moving through and letting go of your shame. One of the only ways to heal your shame and live a life of fulfillment and connection is to forgive yourself. Now, what do I mean by this? I mean untethering yourself from the pain of your past, taking from it what you need or can use, and integrating your experiences, whether they're insights or losses, into your life story. You aren't making yours or anyone else's life better by constantly berating yourself for what you did or didn't do, the things you haven't done, or your worries that you're letting people down. Staying stuck in those past spaces does nothing but keep you in a never-ending cycle of cognitive rehearsal, endlessly reaffirming to yourself that you're a piece of garbage. This is called rumination. You aren't learning anything. You aren't growing. I made a video on the idea of rumination and what it looks like to shift from rumination to digestion a while back, which I'll be sure to post in the show notes for you. But the reality is rumination is ultimately you freeze framing yourself in moments and taking away your power to grow and evolve. Not to mention, many of the things you're judging yourself for aren't even things you wanted or did wrong, but are rooted in shame, shoulds, and supposed tos. So here are 5 things that you can forgive yourself for right now that I can tell you with absolute certainty are not serving you. Number 1, not being where you thought you should be. Whether this is your life stage or accomplishing some bullet point list of achievements, we're all guilty of self-judgment related to what we should have done or have been able to do or be by now. The reality is that goals and dreams are often created out of the context and awareness of our lives and often omit the right to evolve and change. So you aren't married yet, you don't have kids, you were supposed to be a doctor and now you work in sales. The pain doesn't lie in the reality of your life being what it is, but in the interpretation that you're making of it. Putting the should-haves and supposed-tos on a pedestal makes it so anything that looks different is negative. When I notice myself getting hung up here, I try and reframe this to say either, I could have done X, and I did the more challenging thing by making a choice that served me instead of my shame. Or X didn't happen. I get to be sad that something I wanted or worked towards didn't happen. That doesn't mean that I've failed. It means I have grief, and I get to celebrate who I am and what I've done today while also making space to grieve. The second thing we need to forgive ourselves for is growing out of the life you wanted, or told yourself to want in many cases. This, in many ways, connects to number 1, in that so many of us have had the picture of what our lives should look like for years. As a kid, I imagined the house I'd have, the number of kids I'd raise, the job I'd work in, and the success I'd amount to. And over time, I continued to narrow my focus and direction in favor of these goals and pursuits. But what I learned is that what I thought I would want versus what I actually want were often 2 different realities. Sure, when I was 5, being a doctor sounded great, and I worked really hard to get to that point of pursuing it, all the way through 3 MCATs, dozens of med school applications, interviews, and thousands of dollars and hours invested in the pursuit. But as we can see now, I'm not a doctor. Why? Because when I finally sat down with myself, the reality was that I no longer wanted to do that with my life. I just had narrowed the tunnel of focus so much so that I didn't even allow the possibility that my goals and pursuits can change until I reached a truly intense breaking point with it all. And this isn't even the only time I've seen that what I thought I wanted didn't align with what I actually wanted or would come to want. I thought I wanted at least 2 kids. I don't. I thought I wanted to be famous. I don't. I thought I wanted a tattoo. Definitely not. I'm still trying to get the hole to close up on my belly button piercing that I sold myself on 15 years ago. I thought I wanted to stay close to family or to be the one that everyone can always count on. And I've had to work really hard at being okay with the fact that I'm not choosing those things. There are so many things that I did want that dissolved and evolved throughout my life. There are things that fit me for a long time, past friendships, romantic relationships, jobs, Instagram, and the need and want died out. I did want them, and I outgrew them. The three things I have to let go of to heal and forgive myself here were, 1, it doesn't matter if I could or couldn't do X. It's a matter of owning the fact I don't want to. I used to worry so much about the value judgment people would place on me if I changed paths. When I decided to withdraw applications to med school, I sobbed to my mom, "It's not because I couldn't do it." To which she replied, "Of course not. You just don't have to." The second thing is, I don't think I'm too good or better than other people or circumstances because I've moved on. The hermit crab doesn't think it's too good for its shell when it leaves. It just knows that staying is a detriment to its health and well-being. Choosing a new path or letting go of old connections is about allowing myself the best circumstances to grow and evolve. It's about creating circumstances and connections that support my needs rather than losing myself or stifling my growth to accommodate others. And the third thing I've had to accept and work to really own is that some people won't forgive me for changing the context and structure of my life. That's about them, not about me. Now, this brings me to our third thing that we need to forgive ourselves for. We need to accept and forgive ourselves for the fact that we will, with absolute certainty, let people down. This is the main point of radical acceptance, a topic I did a video on a while back that I'll definitely be sure to include below. Radical acceptance is about controlling what you can control and letting go of the rest. Now, as I say this, you're probably thinking, well, sure, but I can control whether or not I let people down. That's a me problem, because what I do is causing them pain. Wrong. Now, sure, there are circumstances that we can reflect back and see what we've done or maybe said has been kind of jerky. We've done something hurtful or harmful to others, either personally or collectively, such as making a racist or oppressive comment. Those points are our responsibility. But what I'm focusing on here isn't that. It's all the ways that you're taking responsibility for things that aren't yours. The way that someone else gets upset because you're leaving a job, or the fear you have about judgment if you leave your marriage, where you've felt unhappy and unfulfilled for years. Let's think about how others get upset because you cancel plans or don't want to do X, or how someone responds to a boundary or a need you request, projecting their own distress onto you. These circumstances aren't yours to hold on to, and getting upset with or judging yourself for it is not only hurtful to you, but makes it so that others aren't held accountable for their own actions and reactions. You've likely spent most of your life trying to make everyone else happy at all times, and in that have made your own needs, wants, and boundaries smaller or obsolete. When you make the shift to show up for yourself, of course it will feel upsetting to them. You'll absolutely let people down, and that's not yours to take on. You have to trust that others will be okay. Reflect on the situation. Ask yourself if there's anything you did that was hurtful or harmful from a values or an inclusion standpoint, and then let go of the rest. Now, point number 4, it's time we forgive ourselves for not being able to handle it all. You can start to see how all of these points really bleed in together. Contrary to the story that you've told yourself for years, or in many cases have had put on you, it's not your job to be everything for everyone else at all times. This isn't on you to hold. Not only because it's unfair to you, but it's quite literally impossible. I am constantly catching myself judging the value of my day over what I did or didn't do. But when I'm honest with myself, this values assessment is being done through a very tiny lens of success with metrics that align only with the hustle culture we find ourselves in today. I can't be the mom I want to be and have the career I wish in the time I thought I should accomplish it. I can't say yes to every project without having to say no to someone or something else. To help me with this, I borrowed a phrase from Brené Brown, which I think she actually borrowed from someone else, which is, what and who do you want to be held accountable for and to? Meaning, radical acceptance, I can't do it all. So in the moments where tension exists and I'm making a choice about how I want to spend my time and energy, what values do I want to hold myself accountable to? What's my mission in life, and who are the people I want to anchor myself and my choices to? There will always be some sacrifice in that as I balance roles and goals, but there's also grace in saying, I want X, and I know that working towards X would mean I have to give up Y. I don't want to do that. This means I'm making a choice to let go of X and will give myself space to grieve and validate that loss while honoring the hard choice I'm making to align my life with who I want to be. And finally, some of you are likely even doing this right now, but the final thing that we need to let go of is the judgment surrounding the choices, decisions, interactions that you had or made before you had the insight to respond differently. I see so many people, including myself, do this. I learn something new, and then rather than integrate it into my present and future self, I almost use it like a weapon of assessment for my past. Shoulds and negative value assessments start popping up like flies. Rather than being grateful for the pivot I can make now, I judge myself for what I didn't do then. But think about how a newborn or toddler works. How often do they do things in weird or unproductive ways until they learn new insights and ideas for how to manage or do something? My daughter definitely didn't know how to handle anger or sadness in constructive and safe ways when she first started to experience it. She wasn't sure how to handle the whole walking thing or the idea of getting a spoon into her mouth. She had and will continue to have dozens of incidences where she does or how she responds evolves or changes as she learns new things or takes in different inputs. But how would that serve her now to know how to walk and then judge herself for not walking sooner because it's so much faster? How would it serve her to learn that throwing things is not only unhelpful but dangerous when she's mad and then berate herself for doing that before when that's all she knew? Short answer, it wouldn't. It would only embed and deepen a shame narrative. Instead, our mantra in our house, whether you're 2 or 92, is that we're all doing the best that we can with the information, skills, and resources that we have in that moment. And we're open to the idea that we'll continue to learn and develop stronger ways of doing things. And there you have it. Leave these 5 things here with me. They aren't serving you. They're only allowing your shame to take over. So get them out of your bag. Stop walking around with them all day long. One great way to support you in doing this is to leave a comment below with everything you want to leave here and what you want to take with you. What are the thoughts or feelings that are no longer serving you? How can you give yourself permission to put them here and trust that you'll be okay without holding on to them every day? Be sure to take a look at the video notes to access all the resources I mentioned throughout the video, including links to those videos on radical acceptance and the idea of rumination versus digestion. And if you like what you're hearing, be sure to subscribe to save yourself the time and energy of having to check back for content and get an alert instead whenever there's new awesomeness to check out. And if you want to stay in the know on all happenings of Adversity Rising, be sure to click the link in the show notes to sign up for my email list, where I share exclusive content that I don't share anywhere else. Thanks for being with me today. Loving ourselves is about celebrating our humanity and seeing each experience as an opportunity to learn more about ourselves and the world, to continue to refine how we show up and engage in it. And remember, you have the right to author your own story. So let's do these steps so we can start to take that pen back. See you next time.